The following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, and welcome to 50 Shades of Bullshit. I'm your host, Christine Lalonde, and this is the podcast where we uncover the truth about online dating. Now let's begin. Hey everyone, I'm Christine.
And I'm Steve.
And this is 50 Shades of Bullshit.
Here
Hi everybody.
I'm beginning to
How's it
understand that bullshit is actually way more meaningful than we tend to think it is.
Right? I think that bullshit can stand for so many things.
Yes.
And I love it.
We tend to be so dismissive about it. Maybe there's actually some wisdom in bullshit.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in bullshit. It's one of my favorite words.
Yes, but then as soon as you start to take it too seriously, then you actually need to be a little more dismissive about it.
I think so.
I think
How's
it's maybe
it going?
the word maybe teaches us to walk the line of significant and insignificant.
I think that I agree. And there's just something magical about the word bullshit. It's like it can be hard, it can be funny, it can be all kinds of things. And I'm here in San Diego this week. I am the event planner for Epic Realty, and we are at an Inman conference. It's for realtors.
Mm-hmm.
And tech, and realtors in tech, and I'm their event planner. So my room here is filled with snacks
stuff.
And bags and boxes everywhere. My room is packed, but I brought my equipment and I'm up here. And
cool.
I've been telling everybody. Everybody's like, "Oh, I need you to do this at this time," and I'm like, "Listen, everyone, I've said this 100 times. Thursday, 3:30 to 5. Do not bother me because I am doing my podcast." And
you're chatting with Steve.
Right. And they're like, "Well, so this is my Epic water."
Any cool swag that they're giving away at this convention?
Our swag is pretty hot. We've got some cool ass sunglasses that I was just wearing. Yeah. But this is our water bottle. And it's a glass water. It's this is backwards.
I can see it.
It's pretty freaking cool. But I'm up here and I'm like, "Hey, I gotta go. I gotta do my podcast." And everybody's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, 50 Shades of Bullshit. And everybody in the room is like, "Oh my God."
Maybe we're gonna get a bunch of new listeners.
That would be amazing. I told him it was racy sometimes. So
aha. Well, tell me, you had an experience you were about to share with me. I said, "Oh, we need to save that."
Oh, right. So I don't know how to say it. What's the word again, Steve?
Psilocybin. So
psilocybin.
Yeah, magic mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had an experience this past weekend.
I went and visited the Puff the Magic Dragon.
You did, huh? Your first time?
My first time. And we did one that was called Penis Envy.
Okay.
It is one of the most strongest ones you can do.
Yeah.
With that, you get some, really strong benefits, and it's very spiritually embedded. Mm-hmm. And Steve, I don't think we knew what we were doing.
Yeah. Well, let me clarify you mentioned the strain, and the name of the strain is Penis Envy.
Yes.
And when you say it's strong, that means that the percentage, this isn't true with every mushroom, every Penis Envy that you have, but with most of that particular strain, the percentage of psilocybin per gram is higher than some other strains. But when you say that it's very strong, the experience that you have is depends on a whole range of different things. It could even be how recently you've eaten. How clean your diet has been over the previous few days. So there could be a whole bunch of different things. So you're saying you had a really strong experience, and was it particularly spiritual?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So if I did it with a friend, and
Mhm.
he did it at the same time, and
Okay.
he thought he was just gonna have this, whatever,
Yeah.
trippy. Turns out he actually was outside of his body the whole time, and and a little bit into it, he turned to me and said, "I realized my journey is to support you."
Aha.
Because within 35 minutes of taking it, and by the way, I took 3 grams.
3 grams. Okay. That's it.
I'm in, I'm insane.
You're insane. It's pretty strong for a first timer.
It's very strong for a first
Mhm.
timer and for somebody who is super sensitive. My body is hypersensitive. I feel things faster, sooner,
Yeah.
whatever.
You should have started around 1 gram or 1.5, maybe.
Listen, I'm a go big or go home motherfucker. That's
Yeah.
what I am.
Well,
And I went all the way in. And I
mhm.
will tell you, Steve, it was. I think we should do an episode on it
Oh,
and
absolutely.
bring on some people, but I'll be kind of a little bit about what happened to me. I was started with some severe pains in my stomach, burning.
Mhm.
The burning traveled up my body as I went. Now, understand, I had a over 6 hour experience.
That's about right for 3
Uh-huh.
grams.
And the burning started in my stomach, then went to my
Mhm.
chest, and I think it was moving through my chakras.
Okay.
Um, it eventually went down to my what's my lowest chakra, my whatever. But it went up and I could feel it in my throat at one point, and then I felt it in my jaw for the most of the time. The severe pain in my face, it was like someone was trying to rip the mask off my face. And I, when I say mask, it's because I've always talked about having a mask for all my life. I've
Mhm.
hidden behind masks to be everything that everybody wanted me to be. And then eventually went to the crown, and it just like exploded out of my head. I felt like my entire head cracked open.
Hmm.
But the entire time I was fighting black entities and demons for
Interesting.
6 hours.
Mm.
And I just kept seeing my higher self. My higher self just kept saying, "Hang in there. You're a healer. You're a healer. Let's just heal this." And I healed all through my own BS, my own bullshit,
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
trauma, the
Mhm.
massive, ugly, dark trauma. And I remember just screaming, saying, "It is so painful. It is so evil in here. It is so horrific." There's so many times I was just saying, "I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared," because it was so evil. It was dark. And if you know anything about my trauma is dark.
Mm.
And I was doing ancestral healing for my family, healings for my kids. I did my daughter's husband. I did a deep dive into him. I went into my
Your
ex.
daughter's husband?
Yeah, my daughter's husband. Let's just say not great.
I thought your daughter was, how many daughters do you have?
3.
Okay, so you have one
Mhm.
who's married. Okay.
Mhm. Listen, I think that her husband can be a great guy. I think he just
Mhm.
needs some healing. He's got a lot of issues, and so my brain went there because I was like, I got to protect my daughter. So I went
Mhm.
in and did this healing for him, and I went in and I started. Certain friends would pop into my head. I was doing those,
Mhm.
and I just felt like at one point I was in the depth of hell,
Wow.
and it was crazy. And then my friend had this big Buddha, and I could feel I was all over that room, Steve.
Mm.
Every single time I went through a healing, I had to throw up, go to the bathroom. My
Mm.
body was purging every time. So I was purging for 6 hours. I was
Mm.
in severe pain for 6 hours. I was going through a mental challenge, like the biggest mental challenge of my life. And I'm telling you, if I hadn't been as strong as person as I am emotionally and mentally,
Mhm.
it could have broken me because that was the heaviest shit I've ever gone through.
Mm.
And I am so grateful today that I have, because I am a changed person.
Mm.
I feel so different.
Mm.
I can't explain it. And I
Yeah.
think I'll get into it in another episode. We can talk about
Yeah.
it in August. I'd like to break some things down with you
Yeah.
and go through some stuff and maybe have someone on who actually facilitates that, because I have a really good friend who does that.
Mhm.
And so, and he's been wanting to come on and talk about it. So we'll do that. But a lot has changed for me, and a lot's changed for my friend,
Mm.
like a lot. And it is just a weirdly, wildly spiritual awakening. And I'm very grateful for it. And I will tell you that I think things so quickly, and it's manifesting very quickly.
Mm.
It's just it's incredible. But yeah, that's kind of what I went through this week. What are you up to?
Sounds like a
Anything
big
fun?
weekend.
Mm,
Yeah.
a big one.
Well, that's awesome.
Anything in your world? Anything fun, exciting? Anything?
Lots of things happening. I don't know if we've even talked about, but I do facilitate experiences, and I've been doing that for many years
Oh,
now.
I did not know
So,
that. Let's do
so
it.
it'd be a great topic for us to talk
Mhm,
about, and we could bring on
mhm,
some people. And
mhm.
what you describe is, uh, I would I would say that the amount of work that people do to prepare for an experience, as well as the time after the experience that we call integration, is as important as the experience
Yes,
itself. And it
yes.
sounds like going into the experience, you didn't point
Oh,
yourself
oh no,
really.
I did.
You
Oh, I
did?
did. I did a whole thing.
Okay.
I prepared. I did research. I did my own preparing.
Hmm.
I set my own intentions.
Good.
I did a lot of. We picked specific music. Picked specific things. I wrote journaling. I did a lot of work before, and then
Yeah.
I did it. And then I think the biggest work was after, because for an entire 24 hours after, I had massive headache.
Mm.
Massive. And it was after I finished doing all my aftercare and the Hertz music that I listened to help, and all the journaling and all the focusing and all the other things I did after really helped. And
Yeah.
I did it on a Saturday. By Monday, I felt so changed. So
Mm. Cool.
very
Well, we
happy.
should do that for an upcoming episode, or more
Yeah.
than one. And because I know that the world is, I wouldn't say quite embracing psychedelics,
Right.
but very curious about them.
Hmm.
And there are people who are diving in without doing the preparation and without doing
Mm,
the integration,
that's
uh,
definitely.
without doing the research. And then there are people who are qualified and legit. And it's
Mhm.
important to know how to kind of sort through and choose someone to support you,
Yeah.
or if you do choose to do a solo experience, how to prepare for that, and how to make sure that you are not taking on something more than you can handle.
No way I should have ever done it alone. I do
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Who I chose to do it with, I'm very grateful that I did. I'm very happy about that, because um, he knows more about me than anybody ever, I think.
Mhm,
And I had no fear of him hearing, seeing, or experiencing anything that I would say, do, or feel, because he knows all about my past. And
mhm,
a lot of things, when you're with a trauma victim, the shame and the guilt on our end, even though it's not our guilt and shame,
mhm,
but we feel it a lot, and it can be humiliating or embarrassing, or we don't know what's going to come out of our mouths. People of trauma are afraid that people think that we like the trauma. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother matter. We can talk about that another time
mhm,
too.
mhm.
But I needed to feel safe with somebody, and not just any facilitator who doesn't know me enough to know what I was going to be going through. And he knew what I was going to be going through.
Yeah.
And so I kind of felt that I was going to experience some things, because I do have a lot of dark trauma, but I will tell you, nothing nothing prepared me for what I experienced.
Mm.
And but while I was going through it, I kept thinking, I'm not going to survive this. I'm just not going to survive this. And my higher self just kept saying, shut up, you can. You're doing. Be kind to yourself. Let's do this. You got this. And it was quite extraordinary. So yeah. hmm But
Cool.
let's plan that for August, because I really would
Awesome.
like to talk about
You mean yes, August.
August. We're almost
Where
there.
are we? What? But let's tie
last
into what
day
we're
of
doing
July.
today. Let's tie into what we're doing today because we have a part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
With
So
Jodi and
we did an episode 2 weeks ago. For those of you who were not there, who haven't seen it, you should go back and listen to part 1. It's 2 weeks ago. It was episode more than one polyamory. And we had Janice and Jodi and a surprise Janice's boyfriend on. And it was such a hit. I had a lot of people reaching out saying how fascinating it was, how interesting it was, and had a lot of questions. So we decided to do a part 2. So we're going to bring Jodi on. Janice could not come back today. She was busy, but Jodi Dreyer Kate is here to see us. Hi, Jodi.
Hey, friends.
how's it
Thanks
going,
for
Jodi?
listening.
Excellent.
Thanks for being back, Jodi. How's your last couple weeks been? It's been good.
It's been really great. It's been really busy. I think, summer travel, gearing up for getting back to business in the fall. It's been really good. And it sounds like your couple of weeks have been really interesting. That was an incredible story that you shared. And I'm really excited to listen to you guys talk more about that in August sometime, because that sounds like an incredible journey that you have. And I think there's a lot of interest out there I'm sure in your listening pool.
Healing. It's all about the healing. I truly, people, I don't really know a lot about mushrooms or that whole, I can't even say the fucking word. What is it?
Psilocybin.
Thank you. The thing is that I've always been told as I was growing up that it was a horrible drug. It'll do horrible things to you. And then during college times, I watched all the college kids in the late 80s, early 90s doing mushrooms so they can watch the ceiling breathe and the walls move and they just tripping out and having fun. But, really it's a incredible healing tool that I knew it would be, but I didn't know the extent of it. And maybe people learning more about it can help them on that journey.
And that's the tie-in, I think, to polyamory right there. The things that we've been raised with and programmed with and everything, and these healing journeys that we're on, which are major themes in polyamory as well.
Well, relationships themselves are set by a standard from previous families, people, friends, and not anybody has it right. We don't know. Relationships are just as different as people's eye color, hair color, skin color, face shapes, body shapes, because no relationship is ever the same. And we are told that we are meant to be in this very specific kind of relationship. And I understand now that I don't know if polyamory is for me. I don't know if monogamy is for me. I don't know. It's about figuring out who I am and what works for me and what works for you, what works for Steve, what works for anyone. And I don't think that we should be afraid or ashamed of discussing things that make us happy or turns our lives around. And nor do I think that, someone said to me, oh, are you really into this polyamory stuff? And I said, no, I'm into educating people on ways of having relationships that suit them.
Hell yes.
Whatever makes other people fucking happy. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, I'm gonna say that unless you are consciously co-creating your relationships, however they are, romantic or otherwise, then you're just falling into some kind of default, based on your culture, your family, your religious upbringing, and all of that is informing you, unless you're actually taking the time to think about it and be conscious of it. So I'm happy that you came back, Jodi, to join us and share about what has become the lifestyle, or call one of the terms for it is the lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
So,
Yeah.
Though I think personally lifestyle is a little bit different. Lifestyle for me, when I know what I know about it, is really about swinging, sex clubs, and really just experimenting that way. I think polyamory, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jodi, feels more about a relationship and a dynamic of a day-to-day lifestyle.
I think that's right. And I think we're also all right. Lifestyle is kind of this antiquated / evolving term where
Yeah.
it used to just mean swinger. And people do use it more broadly to describe ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy. Some people prefer that term. But I think, I think that the lifestyle and that's merged with the scene and all these alternative lifestyles are kind of starting to meld together. But yes, I agree, Christine. The term lifestyle is more traditionally associated with swinging. And, polyamory is, I call it kind of a more connection-based approach to relationships, whereas swinging is more, more sexual-based, I suppose I'd say.
I'd love to ask you about that, because I know that we didn't really talk much about sex last time. We didn't really talk about the specifics. And I know that in some polyamorous relationships, you might include a partner who is not a lover, who is not a sexual partner. So why don't you share with us a little bit about some of, and like I've heard the term or the phrase, the way you do poly may not be the way anyone else does poly, or some other version of that. So polyamorous relationships are different. How might you describe some of the different similarities that polyamorous relationships have? So why don't you run with that?
I think it's the similarities between polyamorous relationships is the connections. It's holding space for multiple loves. It's maintaining more than one relationship with somebody else, man, woman, or otherwise. So I think that's the common part of it. Now, what's uncommon and polyamory kind of falls into this ethical non-monogamy category. And within my community here in Denver and others that I've explored, sometimes polyamorous people are swingers also. Sometimes they're sex forward or sex positive and sexual, like I am actually. I think I shared in the last show, I kind of began a swinger with my former spouse. So there's so many different flavors in between, and they're all different and they're all wonderful. But that's the bridge between them all, Steve. I think is just holding space for multiple love. I've explained it as the type holding space like you would if you have children, if you have more than one child or family members who you love.
And what are some of there's certain terms within the realm of polyamory? Like I've heard the one kitchen table polyamory or hierarchical polyamory, like what that refers to, just so people can kind of get an idea of some of the models that people are exploring.
Yeah, and I'm not a label expert, and I'll share what my perspective is. And there's a listener out there that might disagree, and I'm just coming from where I come from. But you throw out some really interesting terms, especially kitchen table polyamory, KTP, or garden party polyamory, and that really refers to how everybody in the relationship interacts. And everybody in the relationship is not just the people who are directly into the relationship. My partners have metamors, for example, to introduce another
term.
That's right.
Tell us what that is.
Well, like my primary partner Deanna is a metamor to Megan and Stephanie, my two other partners. So it's the relationship that they have with other partners, and that can look different. And yep.
I actually know a couple of them that do not like each other or even have anything to do with each other, and they're just all separate. And then I think that several get to know each other, have relationships as friends, and like that.
Yeah.
Is okay.
And everything's right.
Okay.
Whatever way people are approaching it, whatever feels good to them is right. And my partners' relationships have evolved over time. Deanna and Megan have a very close a friendship and relationship. Deanna's getting to know Stephanie better. They're getting to know each other better. We are somewhere between kitchen table and garden party polyamory. Oh, and just to explain those terms a little bit, the reason we call kitchen table polyamory, that implies that we could all sit around the kitchen table together and have conversations and all be friendly with each other. Garden party polyamory is, maybe we don't all sit around the kitchen table together, but we see each other at parties and we're friendly and cordial to each other.
Yeah. Can I define something? Talk about something really quick here, because I think that this could pop into a lot of people's minds like it did mine. And I just want to address that. When you said the kitchen table where you can all just kind of sit around, I think a lot of people are under the impression that you're just having orgies between you and your 3 girls. And I mean, is it, yeah, I'm sure that's possible. In certain relationships, but in most, I think that those aren't even intermixed. Am I correct?
You're correct on both fronts. Sometimes there are orgies between everybody, I hear.
Well, hell, a good orgy is a good orgy. What can I say?
Yeah, sometimes there is that sexual side to it. And then in other cases, you're absolutely right. I have friends in the polyamory community who have relationships like you described, where the relationships are kept quite separate. And the one thing they do have in common that they all know about them, they're all ethical and consensual.
Right.
Some people prefer, not to, don't ask, don't tell type of policies, for lack of a better phrase. There's a lot of criticism around that phrase, but
but there's something that I've come across in working with some of the couples that I've worked with. When there is that quality of don't ask, don't tell, that's more like an open relationship, versus polyamory almost implies that there's a level and quality of communication between all parties and a transparency about it that may or may not be available in what's called an open relationship, where you might have, hey, I'm cool with you going out and having other partners, I just don't want to know about it. And that, I think that, to me, at least as a framework and to have some jargon that gives us access to being able to talk about things, separates things a little bit. Not always, but that's how I worked it. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to make to think about it. I think that's right. I think that's fair.
That's good. I like that. I have a couple of questions for you that popped up to my head while we were doing the last episode and we didn't get to it. And I kind of structured some stuff for you. Like, how do polyamorous people define commitment? Is it different from monogamous relationships? I mean, when you're talking about committing yourself to a multitude of people, how is that really structured or defined? I mean, does that make sense? Is that
I think I understand what you're asking, and I think the way it's defined is with a lot of communication and agreement and openness. And that was a major theme of our last conversation. And that's a major theme, I think, of polyamory in general. And it's also should be and is a major theme of any kind of relationship and traditional relationships. And I think that's something where your listeners, no matter where they fall on the spectrum of monogamy and monogamish and non-monogamy, that we can all learn about the importance of communication. So my relationships with different partners are we design them, Steve. We co-create them together, and they're all different. And I've had conversations with some partners of what does it mean to call you my partner? Are you a partner? Are you a girlfriend? Are you a play partner? Are you a friends with benefits? So these are all types of things that we discuss. And I've had discussions with one partner where she says, I need a certain amount of time. We need to see each other to really feel like we're loving and supporting each other as partners. We need to see each other a certain amount of time. And that kind of varies. And then, other partners, we don't necessarily, the conversation is different, but at the end of the day, everything fits together. I don't want to make it sound like it's so easy.
Here's part of that I'm curious about. Can polyamorous relationships offer like more emotional support differently than a monogamous, or is it just more emotionally complex than you think that a monogamous relationship? Do you know what I mean? Like the question is there. It's hard for me to structure it in the way that I'm trying to that I see it in my head sometimes. But do you know what I'm trying to get at? Like that structure between monogamous and polyamory, there's a lot of emotional and tied into it. And when you get emotionally invested like that, and you're dividing that emotional connection between multiple people, how does that jive? How does that work?
I need to be very conscious and aware and intentional about the support and attention that I give to my partners. I have to really think about it. My primary partner, I shared in the last episode, she lives very close. We spend a lot of time together and we give each other a lot of attention and support. It's kind of easy for us. We're accessible to each other. And I have to be conscious about reaching out to my other partners and asking them how they're doing. I literally ask them oftentimes, how are you doing emotionally this week? If they're going through things, you asked if is it emotionally complex or more emotionally supportive. I think everybody in the community has different experiences. My experience has been that it's been more emotionally supportive. Which is really wonderful. And, there's things I can talk about I can talk to, I think, all of my partners about anything. We have that type of relationship, but there are certain things and certain ways that I talk with some partners differently than others, just because of their backgrounds and experiences.
Do you think that there's more of a possibility of witnessing a burnout from juggling too many dynamics in different relationships?
Yeah, I think so. When I was, I kind of explored where my edge was in polyamory, and I had just several months ago. Yeah,
I laugh because I can see it.
I had 4 partners. There's 4 women in my life who
I heard the number 4 in my head the minute you said that, and I thought 4 was too much for him.
It was hard. It was really difficult, and I didn't. And the one relationship changed for other reasons, personal reasons, but also I also thought that I wasn't able to provide what my partners deserved and expected with 4 people. And I kind of felt like that was maybe my edge. And I was just speaking with my partner, Deanna, I think last night about this, where we communicate about people who I'm interested. I have, you guys, I'm a total love slut. I have crushes all over the place every night of the week. And my poor partner, Deanna, she says, sometimes it's so overwhelming. But she likes to check in with me and she said, what are you thinking? Like, do you want this person as a partner? And I say, I've shared with her, I've kind of defined for myself. I think I'm about it. And for the reasons I just told you, being able to provide what they deserve and expect. But I do like to be able to leave open to have dates and friendships and that sort of thing, in addition to my partners who I'm more committed to.
Right. I can imagine that it can really, I'm sure you said you had a son, right?
I have 3 kids. I have two daughters and a son. Yep.
So you have children, you have family,
yes.
You have partners, you have work, you have life, you have friends, and that's a lot. And then when you're emotionally, physically, mentally, all the lees, and you're putting that into all these different people, I can imagine that it can get very exhausting and time consuming at some point. Do you find that you have to take time for yourself even more so than you normally would? Or are you just like, fuck it, I'm just going to free love with all of them?
I love time to myself, which may surprise people who know me. People who know me think, Jodi, I cannot believe you go. You're doing this for work. You're involved with that convention. You're doing this coaching over here. You're doing podcasts. You're doing all these things. You have 3 partners. To me, it feels very natural. It feels very flowing. To answer your question about solo time, I don't know if I described myself in the last episode as solo poly. My relationship with myself is really important. My relationship with myself is the most important relationship in my life.
Has to be.
Yeah, and that helps me show up for my other relationships.
Well, your partners have to think it is too.
Yeah.
So when you have a partner, because even monogamous people have partners that are like, why aren't you with me every minute of the day? Why aren't you spending every weekend with me? Why are you going out and camping with the guys? Why wasn't I invited? And then it becomes even more so, because now it's like, well, you're with the other woman and I really needed you. I mean, I can't even imagine what that feels like. I mean, it's hard enough when you're just dating and you date, because you date with, to find your people. It's the same kind of thing. I think it just can really pull you in all directions. That's impossible to like really focus unless you take time for yourself.
It does, and I know there's relationships out there where they some partners may hope for or expect some kind of equity of time and things like that. I'm fortunate. Well, it's intentional also. I was gonna say I'm fortunate where me and all my partners, we're just really grateful for the time that we can have together and for the agreements that we've had, or the agreements we've made on what kind of time we need and expect. So I've been really lucky that way. There's other relationships out there, polyamorous relationships in my community, and people I know who it's not that simple, and it is really difficult. And those feelings are valid. We do have needs, and it's a big part of this lifestyle is learning things like communicating your needs and partners being compassionate and graceful, grace giving toward that.
Yeah.
I have a question. What do you think some of the big misconceptions are about the polyamorous lifestyle or community or relationships?
This is such a great question. And before the last episode, and I'll try to think of the ones that came up to the top. Before the last episode, I posted in several E&M Facebook groups, and that was one of the questions I posted. I said, "I'm going on this podcast. What are what do you think some of the misconceptions are?" One of the big misconceptions would be because I am polyamorous, I am available.
Oh, yeah. That you're willing to just have it, more relationships with more people.
That's right.
I get that.
Right. You can be polyamorous. What's that?
You can't get enough.
Yeah.
Like you're just needing more and more women, or women need more and more men. I think that's a big miss.
And I think that's where the term the lifestyle was conflated with the kink BDSM community, sex party community, sex positive community, like all of these different, if we were looking at different Venn diagram of all these different circles, they each have their own expression, but there is possibly overlap. And even the monogamous world.
That's right.
This question is forming in my head, and I can't quite get, like, do you think that people just look at you in a way, or guys especially, and go, oh, or women think, you're being selfish because you need more than one partner? Do you think that is a big part of that? The people are like, oh, you just can't be satisfied with one woman. Why aren't I enough for you?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that kind of thing?
That one actually touches me. And I think the answer is yes. I think there is this perception by some people who feel like, if they're in a relationship with me and I wanted to be in a relationship with someone else, that they're not enough. And I think people newer and exploring polyamory, like one of my partners has gone through that. And you guys, that really affected my former marriage. Actually, also, that was a major factor and a major theme. And I just wish I wish they could see into my heart to know that that's not true. And that's just not how I view things. It's not about wanting more and more and more. It's about who I am. It's about who I really am at my core. This is my identity. I am as happy solo and alone as I am with 3 partners. I promise you. So that's another big misconception.
I think one of the things that I think a lot about it when I think if this is something for somebody is, how would you navigate, like, say, holidays, family events, social situations when everyone understands and accepts polyamory? But then again, who do you choose? What partner? What do you do? Do you bring them all and be like, hey, I got 3 women, you know what I mean? It's like, how does that navigation between all that happen?
That is a really great question, and it's really difficult, and everybody approaches it differently. I have no spoken kind of rule for that, and I've had conversations with my partners about that before. My partners' relationships that they have are ever evolving, like all of ours are, and so they've gone through periods where we've been all together, and they've had primary partners, and sometimes they've had partners where they spend holiday time and family time together. I am feel really lucky to have have had some family events or group events here at the house, for example, where all three of my partners are there.
Do they also bring their other partners? I mean, is it just like, just
Sometimes, yeah.
okay. I
Yeah,
like, I
garden
kind
party.
of like that. It's kind
Yeah.
of cool.
It feels so good. It feels so magical, and it feels really great. There's also, I've also have friends and people I've been partners with where it's been really difficult, where they've had primary partners where they've been in situations where they can't spend holidays because of holidays are big because of their partners' situation on the end or on their other end. So there's a lot of feelings that come up with that, and a lot of difficulty. And it just comes down to how you define your relationships, and undergirding that is that communication that we keep talking about.
I do think communication might be the strongest factor or key in, well, one in any relationship. It's like, let's fucking talk, people. Okay. But I think in this type of situation, it might require a lot more than your average bear relationship because I mean, think about it. You've got a lot of feelings going on. You've got a lot of dynamics. You got a lot of different types of personalities, and I don't know. It can be a lot, and I think a lot of monogamous people are like, hell no, it's hard enough to keep up with one, much less more than one. It's a lot of responsibility and it's a lot of work.
I literally have a degree in communication.
I think you need to.
I
really do.
We were with this comedian at this event, and she was, and we got to spend some time with her afterwards. And she said, and she was really curious about us and our relationships and polyamory. She said, I feel like you need to have a doctorate in communication, to be successful at it. Yeah. And my parents said that degree wouldn't be worth anything, but little did they know I put it to use.
Personally,
well, I think we're in an interesting time where relationship norms are more malleable. These relationship models have been going on for a long time. People have been questioning the model of monogamy for a long time, but it's now coming to the foreground, and it's more transparent, where people are talking about different models of relationship. The same way we are the norms of, quote unquote, and air quotes here, norms about gender, norms about sexual orientation. That is becoming more malleable, and I'm hoping that the younger generations are actually more fluid, more open, and actually this brings about a form of communication that is much more complex, but much more inclusive and transparent. But I am getting into a question here, I promise.
Yeah.
Do you think? Yes, really. Do you think, if that's the case, and maybe you don't agree with that, but if that's the case, what do you think that people who aren't buying this, they're like, oh my God, this is so outside the norm, this is scary for me, or this is uncomfortable, how you can share? Because I'm sure you go to the grocery store and you're with one partner, and then you're talking to the neighbor and say, oh yeah, this is my partner so-and-so. Yeah. And then you go the next day and there's, oh, we were with a different partner. And they're like, wait a minute. I thought you were with, so I know it's
thinking you're cheating or.
Yeah, I know it challenges people outside of the conversation here. What do you do about that? And what do you think people who are polyamorous should do to be more inclusive for people who this might be really uncomfortable for?
Yeah, let me address first. What's that?
That was a very long-winded question.
Well, let me address first too that I do think that the younger generations view relationships as more fluid. I have friends and play partners in their 20s and 30s, and that is absolutely their attitude and approach, which is really wonderful to see. And I think we're kind of collecting all these viewpoints under this alternative lifestyle kind of terminology, and I'm really excited to see more of that community events. There's an alt-life expo actually happening in Denver next January, whose purpose is to bring together all these different age groups, as well as groups of different types of relationship structures, people who are polyamorous and swingers and kinksters and fetishists and queer and all of that. I also think, Steve, you mentioned there has been fluidity in relationships. And I talked about the great example the gay community was in teaching other alternative lifestyle people to be brave and how to come out and everything. And they've also, and I'm not a spokesperson for them, and I certainly don't want to be mistaken for speaking for all of them, but I have had several conversations anecdotally where my gay friends and in the gay community where their relationships are fluid. We've given it a name now, but they have been very open. And I think what it takes to be able to have these relationships, it takes work. It takes a lot of inner work. Yes. Yeah. And we've been really, I think a lot of us have been programmed and programmed into these tremendous insecurities around relationships, and whether or not you choose non-monogamy or not, I wish for everybody to take the opportunities to heal our wounded inner children. And I'm smiling, but I'm really serious. And I've done that. And you see a lot of that work in this community. A lot of therapists and coaches are focusing on it because there's a lot of opportunity there.
I think it takes a lot of real strong intention. I think that you have to be very specific about what your intentions are. And I think, more than anything, it takes being open, kind, and completely understanding. But I think the biggest key factor that I'm taking beyond communication is an ability to set your ego and like selfishness aside, and really think about your partners and your partner or whatever, and focus on others' needs, not just your own. And I think that makes a big I personally, that's what I'm getting out of it. That's what I see.
I'm
Because
glad
I think
to
a lot
hear
of
it.
people would think that this was a selfish thing. I think a lot of people would say this is a selfish motherfucker who wants just to have sex with a bunch of women and have his a cake and eat it too. But I really don't see that anymore. I don't think that anymore anyway. I think maybe I might have in a previous, time in my space of my energy, because I would go, "Ugh, he's not satisfied with one woman. What the fuck?" But I honestly don't see that. I see truly all my friends that I have become really well acquainted with, they show me that they are more loving, more respectful, more communication, less ego, yeah, there's still drama because we're all fucking human. But I really see a big shift in my own opinion of it. And I truly hope that I've helped other people have a shift, because I don't think there should be judgment in anyone's relationships. It's not anybody else's business what the fuck we do.
Yeah.
It's like, let's focus on our own communication with who we got and not worry about everybody else's.
Oh, come on. It's so much easier to pass judgment on others than to deal with myself. Come on.
That's right.
True that. Half the fucking world does that. I swear to God.
Exactly.
I personally think that we should have a communications classes in grade school and middle school and high school. They should go all the way up, and it should go with the age instead of just having it communications in college. I think that communications should start in grade school and work all the way through.
Christine, I kind of joked about, parents, other people saying, "Oh, communications degree is worthless." I am so proud of the work I did in my communications course and the things that I've learned, which is really grounded in psychology. And I totally agree. There's not enough of it, and we could all really benefit to learn more about it at an earlier age. I agree.
I don't think that this world would be as divided as it is. I'm not saying that we should be all topia and all think the same fucking way. I'm not, that's not me. I say to each its own, but I think the most important thing is that we need to realize that communication opens the doors to understanding for other people. And I don't get why we can't just try to care and understand about others.
100%.
So I really appreciate that you've come on here a couple times with us, Jodi, and really tried to help us help other people see what this really is about, and that it's not just some free-for-all sex, fiend who wants to have a bunch of partners. And I really appreciate that, you've given this really beautiful feeling of, this is just about love and communication and enjoying other people. And I love that. So thank you for being here.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much, and appreciate the listeners considering different viewpoints and perspectives.
Listen, it's not for everybody, and I'm not trying to tell everybody it is.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody should find what works for them and go from there.
100%.
So. Well, we're out of time, and my engineer is yelling at me to go. So we gotta go. But thank you again, Jodi. There were questions, and I'm sorry we did not get to them, but this was so fascinating. Steve, love you. Thank you so much for being here with me every week.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
We're gonna be back, same place, same time next week. And until then, let's just keep this shit real.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends, like and follow us on Instagram at 50shades_of_bullshit and Facebook at 50 Shades of Bullshit. Thanks so much for listening, and we really hope to see you again next week.